Hi there. I am Amy Riordan, and I just have had it on my heart to go through this book chapter by chapter, just in some short videos. I've never done that before and just had it on my heart to do so. As you can see, this is my book, All of You, and it is for women who are seeking healing and freedom from sexual strongholds. That can be pornography, it could be sexual fantasies, lust towards men or women. It could be a number of things. And I wrote this book um, starting with my own story, which I'm going to talk about today. And it's something that was on my heart to write because it's one of the books that I really needed. I thought I was alone, and a lot of the women that I talk to, even now, still think that they're alone until they come across my story or somebody else's story. And that is why I do what I do. That's why I have Walking Freedom Ministries. That's also why I have a coaching website. Also, I coach many women in this area. And that's also why I wanted to go through this just chapter by chapter. You do not need to have a book to follow along with this. If you want one, they are on Amazon. You're more than welcome to get one. If you have one, great. Um, but I wanted to just go through this um, just little by little. And um, I don't know, it sounded like something fun that I've never done. Um, it's funny, I never would have considered that fun a few years ago because I never thought I would write a book like this. But I wanted to read the dedication to you just so you can hear my heart and who this book is for. Although anybody um, can read this and I believe receive from this. But this is what I wrote in the dedication page. For the women who feel crushed by the weight of sexual strongholds and the shame that comes with it, I wrote this book for you. I pray this is a tool that encourages you, challenges you, and gives you hope. Most importantly, I pray it leads you closer to Jesus. He loves you, fully desires you, and wants all of you. And that's where the title, All of You, came from. So, just to touch on my story in today's video, there's much more in the book and on my website. Um, I grew up going to church pretty much every single Sunday, like a lot of the women that I talk to who are um, wrestling with pornography or wrestling, with lust or anything that they never ever thought that they would be wrestling with. A lot of us grew up in church, including myself, and I did not have what I would now call a relationship with Jesus until I was in my mid 20s. Um, but I did go to church growing up, and I was very sheltered and growing up from just a lot of the teenage, probably drama things. I was very sheltered by my parents. And when I started becoming an older teenager, I started doing things that I never ever thought that I would do. Really, just looking back to, um, I don't know, it was nice to feel liked by boys. And so I started doing things that I had not done before as a younger teenager. And then when I was a senior in high school, I started becoming closer and closer to a friend of mine, a female friend of mine. And I ended up developing feelings for her, and that turned into eventually a relationship with her. And that's actually part of my first book. If that is your experience, you might want to read that. It's called Longing for Intimacy. That's my first book, and that's a large part of my story. But after that relationship with her, um, there's just so much. I'm trying to think of what to share here. I ended up getting married a couple of years later to someone that I worked with, and I was only married to him for um, about a year until we ended up getting divorced. And in that relationship, when we were dating, I started watching pornography with him and just things, um, you know, drinking and using drugs and just things that I never ever saw myself doing or thought I would do, was never exposed to before I started just doing all of these things. And like I said, fairly soon after getting married, we got divorced. He wasn't ready to be married, he said. And shortly after getting divorced, well, that's actually when I started going back to church. I didn't really want to go back, but my mom kept trying to get me to go back to church after years of not going anywhere. And I finally went back just to appease her so she wouldn't be asking me anymore. And I ended up loving it, this particular church. And I loved it. I felt like I fit there. I did fit there. It was just wonderful. And uh, that's where I ended up giving my life to Jesus. And before that, I never even knew I needed to do that. I never knew there was anything more than what I had experienced growing up. And my life just really started to change, and that I was so relieved that knowing that he had a plan for my life, I had no idea what that was yet. And I was in the middle of a divorce when I started going there. And I just felt so much hope that I hadn't felt because I was pretty devastated with everything going on in my life. So that's when I gave my life to Jesus. And a couple of months after that, my ex-husband died of a drug overdose, which was something I had feared. Um, every time I heard sirens, I wondered if he was okay. And so for that to happen just kind of wrecked my world. And I really don't know how I would have gotten through that without Jesus. Um, Not too long after that, I started dating my husband, actually, right around that same time, which was not really a good idea in hindsight, but it seemed like a fine idea to me at the time. And he was a Christian. I had just given my life to Jesus, so did he. And I thought everything was in my past, everything that I had dealt with, everything was going to be just fine. And I did not know that Jesus could heal my heart. I knew nothing about that. So I really was kind of a master at shoving everything down, just kind of pushing it down. And um, I had learned to do that when I was much younger, and I was getting pretty good at it. At least I thought I was, until I had my first baby. And along with that came postpartum depression, and everything that I had shoved down started coming up to the surface. And um, I started looking at pornography. That's not an excuse. It's just, I always tell people, because it's true, that's kind of like my timeline. I just know that that's when that happened. And all of these feelings that I had concerning women, um, they seemed to be coming just out of nowhere, but really it was something that I shoved down. And all of uh, this lust and just everything that goes with looking at pornography just kind of exploded in my life and in my heart. And I obviously ended up telling my husband because I'm doing this now. And that was back in 2008 that I told him. And God has just, that's obviously not the end of my story, but God has done so much in my life and in my heart, in my marriage, in every aspect of my life since then. And I thought I was alone when I was looking for help, all I could find was for men. And that kind of compounded the shame that I already felt because I thought women don't deal with this. I can't find anything for women. And um, that's a big reason why I wanted to write this book. And thankfully there's other resources out there now. They're becoming more and more um people are realizing more and more. And as women like me are finding healing and freedom in our lives, we're the ones who are doing this. So it's wonderful just to see what God can do and redeem in our lives. So that's what's on my heart. That's what was on my heart in writing this book, and going through this, just a few minutes for each video. So I just wanted to encourage you, if you are someone who's wrestling with any kind of sexual stronghold, anything, lust, it could be towards men or women, like I said, it could be with pornography, it could be anything, fantasies, masturbation, one of those words no one likes to say. All of those things that women and Christian women can struggle with, that so many times we can feel alone. So if you feel alone, I want you to know that you are not alone. There are so many other women that wrestle with this, and I was one of them. And I have coached and talked to and ministered to many other women who God has done so much in their lives. And it's just so fun to watch what He can do. So I want to encourage you to come back to join me for the next video. I'm just going to go through these just chapter by chapter. And I just am curious and looking forward to see what God's going to do. So I will see you next time. Bye.